I want to, as soon as he unmutes himself, okay. I want to introduce really quickly a good friend and a peer of mine. His name is Dexter Mullins. He is a senior producer at NowThis. And I'm sure I asked all of them earlier, Dexter, if they knew what NowThis was, and everybody raised their hand.
Oh, that's great.
So it's really weird because me and Dexter are friends, but now that we work for two different media companies, we're also kind of like competitors. So I always kind of throw shade at them whenever I can. So I'll probably be doing that for the duration of the class.
We'll see.
But no, so Dexter works at NowThis, which I'm sure you guys know is a company that I guess does, if you want to call it, social news. But their videos are some of the most widely shared, watched, viewed, and engaged on the internet. A lot of places, a lot of big media companies are really kind of like, you know, modeling their strategy after NowThis. So I wanted to bring Dexter in here since this is an experiential journalism class. I wanted to bring Dexter in here to talk about the work that they do there and how they kind of think about and how they go about creating the content that they do. So he's going to talk for about 20-25 minutes. And then if you guys have any questions for him at the end, feel free to shoot them his way. All right, Dexter.
Cool. Thanks, John. Hi to everybody. First off, thanks for having me in your class. Before I start, I would just say quickly, if you could all do me one favor and not tweet out every single thing that I say. That has happened before. Not that it's a bad thing, but it does make keeping John behind us in the views a little easier if you're not sharing all our secrets all over the internet.
I'm writing down everything.
I'm sure you are. So just a quick show of hands. I know John said you already asked, but I would just love to see myself. How many of you guys know NowThis? That is amazing. So as you know, NowThis is, we are actually the #1 social video news source on Facebook. I've got a couple of things I want to show you just quickly here. We'll start with this. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Do you see this presentation? Yeah. Okay, cool. So it's just 2 slides. It's not going to be super long. But these numbers are actually already outdated. These are just from last month or 2 months ago. No, last month. We were averaging 2.3 billion views a month on Facebook. We are now well past that. We hit 2.8 billion last month, and we're on track to do 3 billion this month just in terms of our views, which is just an incredible amount. I mean, like no one else anywhere is touching these numbers. And it's not just our Facebook platform, but it's Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Tumblr, Vine. I mean, we're all over social, and our views are just, I mean, the growth is kind of unprecedented. And as we've seen other publishers see a dip in their growth, our growth has actually skyrocketed even in the last couple of months. So that's been really pretty amazing. Our monthly reach is about 7 billion users, and we average about 1 million views, 1 million hours of video viewed every single day, which I know networks that would kill for those kind of numbers. I can post a video, or I can have a producer do a video at 10 o'clock in the morning, and by the end of the day, I know it will hit 6 or 7 million. I mean, there are nightly news programs that spend millions of dollars making 30 minutes of TV that don't get those kind of numbers, and they're on every single day at the same time. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the reach of social video. A little bit about our audience. Our audience is young. 75% of them, like yourselves, are under 35, and 85% of our audience is consuming our content on mobile. They are very engaged. We have the most interactions with them. It's one of the highest interaction rates among millennial news publishers across the spectrum. So we are young, mobile, highly engaged, highly educated, and people really love the video. So just kind of sort of, let me turn the screen share off a bit so you can see me again. So a couple of things just about NowThis, and I'll show a few videos. We can kind of talk through them. It's a short presentation. I'm more like video question. If you have questions, just raise your hand. I'm happy to discuss them as we go. We are, even though it's like social video, we are still a news company. We are still an editorial operation, and we do tend to take an editorial stance on certain things like many organizations do. We kind of find that what works best for our videos are looking for things that will evoke emotions, things that kind of hit one of our core causes, we have a few things that we are very passionate about. We're very passionate about gun safety. We have obvious thoughts about presidential candidate Trump and some of the things he likes to share, whether they're accurate or not. We're very aggressive about fact checking him, as we are with Hillary Clinton. And just, flirting with honesty. And you can't be running for the presidency of the United States and not be telling the truth. So we are frequently fact checking him, which is something his campaign has hit us out for. But we have no problem with that because facts are facts. And if you can't stick to them, we'll help you stick to them. Just things like that kind of get to the equality, the issues that we care about, women's equality, pay equality, the gender gap. Those are the things that we sort of, sorry, my headphones are popping a little bit. Those are things that we kind of consider core issues. So we look for things that fit within the news, and we kind of check off what sort of box does it check? Is it just great video? Sometimes a video is just good because the images are just amazing. I mean, you see, great pictures of a fire, that's just really good video. And that always holds across newspapers, television stations, Instagram, Facebook, anything you want. Good video is good video. And sometimes you just can't get away from that, which I have a couple examples we'll show. Obviously, police brutality and safety and policing and police equity is a big topic right now, and we are very heavily focused on that as well. So that's another area that we spend a lot of time on. And then just, what I click on this video. A lot of what we see, and every morning we have our meetings, say, hey, you guys are pitching these stories. Why did you pitch it? What made you click on it? Is it a good story? And would your friends click on it if you shared it? So those are the things we kind of look for when we go into selecting our videos. I've got a couple of examples lined up here. Let me just find the first one. Okay, let's see. All right, so this one's fairly recent. And this is one example of us taking on sort of politics, if you will. So let me just do a share. And I think you probably all have seen this video. Let me know if you can't hear it.
We can't hear it.
You said you can or you can't?
Can't.
Can't? Okay. Well, that's okay. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. So actually, let me pause. So I don't know why the sound is not coming across, but one of the things that also is interesting to note, just since you can't hear the sound, which is unfortunate, is a majority of our users actually will consume video without the audio. So we see something around 75 to 80% of the videos that people consume, like when you scroll through your Facebook feed, how often do you stop and play the video and turn on the sound? Not often, right? So around 75 to 80% of our audience actually is watching video without sound. That being said, that other 15 to 20% or 25% of people who are watching with sound still represents a couple of million people. So on a video that has 10 million views, while 8 million of you are watching without sound, 2 million people are still watching with sound. So the sound is still important, but just knowing that we are in a short, quick, snappy environment, a lot of people don't have time to plug up their headphones if you're on the train trying to get to work, or if you're at the gym, or just kind of scrolling through your Facebook feed waiting for your friend to get to lunch or something like that. You don't exactly want to have to dig out your headphones to listen to the video. So we take that into consideration when we're editing the videos and assigning them. So ideally, you should be able to get the point across, feel the emotion we want you to feel in the video, and get the news and interpret it yourself without having to hear the sound. But if you do have the sound, you also get that sort of added benefit of, that's if you have some more time, you get the audio as well. So I'll go back and start this one over. Sorry about that. Let's do this one more time. Since you can't hear the sound, I don't have to listen to it either, which is kind of nice. All right. So that was about, I don't know, a minute and a half. So it's just one of our longer videos. We try to stay between like 45 seconds to maybe a minute and 15, although sometimes videos can be a little longer. Just quickly getting some reaction from that one. That video was seen 1.7 million times, and that's just from last week. So that's pretty good. We have some that have done a couple 100 million, we have some that are done in between 1 million and 50 million. It just kind of depends on the video and how it's received that day, also what else is in the news. How many of you guys had already seen that one? Oh, okay, great. So when you first scrolled through and you saw it on your Facebook feed, what made you stop to watch it?
Interest.
Yeah, she's always going off.
Yeah, she's always got something.
We like her. Warren fans.
Is that better? All right, I'll just go back to the headphones. All right, yeah, so it's short enough that you can kind of adjust the news. She's always yelling at somebody about something, so of course she's going to be reading into someone, and everyone can get outraged about like a really, really rich person making a lot of money off of everyday people. So those are things that, again, like it checks the boxes. It's newsworthy. It's a really good video because it's Elizabeth Warren and she is just eviscerating this man. And you personally can feel the frustration of the people who have been scammed essentially by this mega bank. So that worked really well for that video, which is why we chose to cut it. And also it's Elizabeth Warren. I guarantee you whenever she's in front of a mic, something great's going to happen there. All right, I've got a couple more. I kind of wish you could hear the sound on this next one. But it's all right. Let's see. If you guys have questions in between, please feel free to just shout them out since I'm rotating between screen sharing.
Now, Dexter, can you explain kind of the makeup of the different teams there? I know you guys have video producers.
Oh, yeah. I should have done that first. My bad.
Cool.
So we have a couple of different teams. Actually, I'm glad you said that because that kind of gets to another point that everyone always asks about. So there is the Facebook. Well, every video we make goes on Facebook. We have our Facebook Live team. We have our NowThis News main page team, which I'm the senior for the main page. We have a NowThis election page, which is Now Vote. We have NowThis Entertainment, and we have NowThis Weed. I think I've forgotten one. Let's see. I think that's it. Well, and then we also have our Snapchat team, which works on our Snapchat Discover platform. And those are the majority of our teams. So throughout the day, you kind of get each vertical, if you will, working on a variety of things. So the main page will cover, just news of the day, breaking news. Like today with the train crash, obviously that was the first thing we did this morning. Entertainment was all about Brangelina last week, which is very sad if you ask me. The election team has their hands full. They actually were in the spin room at the debate at Hofstra just this week. So they got some really great footage. We had some folks who were following the candidates around from time to time when we can afford to send them out. Since we're a smaller company, we can't necessarily embed with people, but we can send our folks out when it's most important. And they do a lot of great political work. Entertainment I already talked about, and then weed is pretty self-explanatory. They cover all things weed. Oh, and now this booze. So if you've ever seen those little short videos where we're making fun cocktails like Game of Thrones themed drinks, or if there's a big sporting event, we'll make a drink that's themed around that for the booze page. Just a variety of different things. The other day I did a Facebook Live eating the world's hottest chip, which was incredibly hot, and I regretted it immediately. But it was just something fun to do. It was a slow news day. It was a good, just a good way to kind of do something different on our live page. We do things from like recaps of topics during the election. We'll recap shows from Stranger Things to RuPaul's Drag Race. We did a recap of the night of that was really quite interesting. We brought in some folks to talk about policing and policy for that recap. And it's just kind of a variety of what we'll do on the live. And it's kind of nice because you have the room to experiment with Facebook Live. There's not like any rules you have to follow, and we can kind of see what works for us and what doesn't. So we've got like a wide scope. Just in terms of monetization, because everyone's always like, where do you get the money from? How do you guys pay for all this stuff? One of it is just through traditional ad sales on our verticals, especially on Snapchat. We run ads in between every other article or video that we run, just like a normal editorial newsroom would. And there's a sales team that handles that. That's totally separate from the editorial, just like a traditional newsroom. We also have branded content. I don't know if you guys saw the video that our branded team did with Kleenex. That's our NowThis Studios team. They're the branded team. So we have brands that want to reach our audience, and they know that no one else has the reach that we do. So they work with the sales and the studios team to work directly with them. I could probably find one of those videos later and show it to you, or maybe I'll send a link to John so you guys can watch it and hear the audio with it. So there's a lot of sales from that. And then the other form of monetization that we get is there's still a few traditional media websites that will pay to embed our videos, or we partner with some organizations that need some assistance with video, things like that. Like we had a partnership with Huffington Post for a year where we did video for them as a dual partnership, and there was some funds exchanged in terms of that. I don't know all the details, but those are some of the other areas of monetization that kind of allow us the funds to operate. A lot of where we get our news from, I'd say it's probably 75 to 80% aggregation, and the other 25% is original shot. But just because it's aggregated doesn't mean that we don't put our own spin on it. So like everyone had that Elizabeth Warren video because it's public domain. It was from the Senate. It's on C-SPAN. It's all over the place. It's on Reuters. But we have a very unique editorial voice that we add to our videos that our audience really connects with, which is why our videos tend to do so well. Okay. Let's see. This is probably one of my favorite videos, just because I assigned it in the morning. I said, you've got to cut this. It's amazing. It's going to do 100 million by Friday. And it was a Monday, and no one believed me. And it did 100 million by Wednesday. This actually did 120 million. So this was pretty great. Let's see. It sucks you can't hear the sound. It's like the saddest music.
Oh, I did cry at that one.
Oh.
See?
Oh man. Oh man.
Oh, that's just crying.
That's the sweetest thing.
This is like the best video ever to be made, in my opinion.
But he's sticking them. He doesn't speak Japanese. That's the best part. So he's like physically touching him too.
Yeah. So that's probably one of my favorite videos, just because I think it's amazing. And that one, I mean, it's obvious why that video did well. It's a cute kid video. You know, everyone understands what it feels like to lose something you work really hard for, and you all know that feeling of like just utter despair. I mean, these kids have been on the field for like 2 hours. They played their hearts out, and they lost by 1 point. It was a 1-point game. You know, they were in Japan. It was all the things that could possibly go wrong for that team, and they were devastated. And then you see these kids being like, "Oh, it's fine. Like, you know, shake it off. Don't worry about it. And you know, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna do great things." And look, I got tears from this little video. It's amazing. It's just, you know, that is an obvious one that did well. Things like that. I mean, I think we posted it at like maybe 10:30, or I can tell you the time actually. Let me see. We posted that video at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By 7 o'clock that night, it had already done 900,000. By the next morning, it had done 5 million. It got picked up by, I think, Daily Coast or like Elite Daily, some other website. By then, it had done 20 million. By Friday, it was 115 million. I mean, it just took off, and now it's at 120 million. So things like that, you kind of just, there's nothing more exciting than watching a video just tick up in views like that. Especially for me, because everyone's like, "Oh, that's not going to do that well." And I was like, "No, this is going to kill it. Just watch." So, and of course it did. I mean, it was the highest viewed video of the week that week. So that was amazing just for my own personal satisfaction, but also it was good video. All right, I've got one more. It's a little less serious. I probably should have done these in the other order. Actually, now I'm looking at it. Oh no, where did it go? I'm looking for more video, but while I'm looking, if you guys have questions, I would love to hear them.
I do, actually. So a lot of the videos, sometimes they're satirical, sometimes they're very serious. How do you take, really, it is like a biased spin. Like, how do you approach each story, like each video story?
Yeah, sure. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of them are actually like very satirical for news stories. Other ones are not. So how do you take that approach for each one?
Yeah, so each story is different. We look at each story sort of holistically. It's sort of like, you know, there's not like a one-size-fits-all approach to how we tell the news, because the news is very dynamic and it's very different, and everyone's looking for something different. So it's not that we're trying to cater to every single person, but like for perfect examples, like our politics coverage. There are some videos where we're super critical of Hillary Clinton for something she's done that's just really ridiculous. And then there's some that we're just like, oh, she wore this amazing pantsuit. Check this out. You know, it just kind of depends on, honestly, like the mood of the producers I kind of trust them to know what's going to work for a particular video. Some things that we make satirical are just things like CNN will make a big deal, not against John, but just because it's CNN. They'll make a big deal out of something that's really not that serious. So we'll be like, oh, look, everyone like MSNBC is running with this thing that's just really not that, like Hillary sneezed. Oh my gosh. And that's like a 16-hour situation. So we'll make a silly video about it. On the flip side, Trump will say something like, you know, I don't know, pick anything that he said. And it's like so blatantly not true that, you know, regardless of your politics, facts are facts. And we tend to hold everyone to that same standard. So when you have someone that's just blatantly lying and is running for the White House, and you kind of have to like fact check them. So I'd say we probably do 4 or 5 Trump fact checks a day. Because there are 4 or 5 Trump lies a day. And those videos are always very serious. The next one I was going to show actually is pretty serious, so I'll save that for a minute. But then there are things that, you know, there are some videos where, you know, police do great things and those are fun. There are some videos that are obviously not so great and those are very serious. There are videos, we do a lot of videos about Syria, like a lot, actually. I just approved this one. I can probably show you guys this. It'll post in about an hour. Our Syria videos are always very serious because to us, that's a very important topic. And we don't think it gets the coverage that it deserves just because it gets drowned out by a lot of the domestic stuff here at home, which is really unfortunate. But, oh wait, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's see. I shared the wrong screen. Yeah, so like our Syria videos are always very serious because, you know, you have hundreds of thousands of people who are displaced. There are like hundreds of thousands of children that have died. And collectively, the world has not done enough or has not taken enough steps to concretely sort of bring this to a resolution or at least stem the flow of the death of, let's just say, the children, for example. So those are always really serious. Here is an example.
Wait, Dexter, this isn't a Syria video that nobody's seen yet, right?
This one actually is going to go up in about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I just to be safe, I wouldn't.
Oh, you know, okay, good point.
Yeah, I can send off the link later.
I can grab another one real quick.
Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, you guys. You know,
he's got to do what he's got to do. I can't fault him for that. It is his job.
I want to see if get caught.
I'll try to find one that's not as graphic as some of the other ones. Oh, this is. Let's see. This is the perfect video for this. Okay. So does everybody remember the video of the little Syrian boy that was sitting in the ambulance, just sort of sitting there wiping his face? That's a perfect example of one video where we didn't even have to add music or editorialize it because like you just see it and you immediately understand what's wrong with that situation, why it's so tragic, why it's so serious. And you know, you take that approach because that's what that story requires. Let's see. I don't even remember this video being particularly long. Let's see. Yeah, this one was only 45 seconds, but that was all you needed.
And they were the first to show this video too.
I believe we were one of the first people to post this video. And it was one of those things where there wasn't even a discussion about, do you show it? It was just like, of course you do, because look at it. You know, there just was no concern about that.
Absolutely.
Every time I see this video, it just really messes me up.
What was the pushback for this video?
There was none. So I'm just so thinking traditionally, like had I been at my old job at CBSN or at my job at Al Jazeera, well, maybe not at Al Jazeera, but like at NBC or Wall Street Journal, there would have been a discussion about, oh, is this too graphic? Or, you know, are we exploiting this child? Or do we need to contextualize it? And we editorially just felt like you don't really need to do a whole lot with this video because it's so obviously transparent as to what has happened, what you just get it immediately. And there's no need to add music to it to make it seem more or less dramatic or to make it seem serious or silly. There's no need to add any additional text other than this is what happened. These are the facts. You know, this many people have died. This many children have been left without parents or homes. It was just very straightforward. And it was only 45 seconds. But like, as John said, every time you see that video, you immediately have a reaction. And whether that reaction is, sadness for that child, or anger at the situation, or frustration, or whatever your reaction, that is for you as the viewer to have on your own. It's just our job to bring you the news and for us to tell you this is important, so we're going to show it to you, and for you to kind of formulate your own opinion. So that's kind of the approach we take. I mean, there are some things that I would tell anybody that I think we're as fair as we possibly could be in terms of politics, just because this election is kind of insane. And to hold anyone to the standard of like objectivity is a little ridiculous. I would even say that borders on irresponsible, because trying to be objective at this point is just sort of ignoring some very obvious facts. But then there are things like Syria where like there really is a wrong answer, or there really is a wrong side and there is a right side. And it doesn't make sense to penalize like these kids, for example. So like a video about like Assad fighting against the rebels in Russia and the US forces would be very different than a video about the child victims. But a video about the kids, I mean, the kids have no role in this. They've done nothing. They didn't ask for this. Their homes have been taken from them. And this is the war zone they live in every day. And that's a very obvious thing. So those are some of the sort of distinctions we make.
Actually, another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
About like audience when you're making these videos, like, okay, our audience is this particular group, or are you just making these videos and thinking, oh, this is what they need to see?
Honestly, I don't know that we really think too much about audience. I would say that our newsroom looks a lot like the room you guys are in right now. It's incredibly diverse. We have almost an even split of men to women. Well, actually, I think we have more women than men on our staff. There are only 2 male senior producers out of the 8 seniors. The other 6 are women. It's a very diverse group. I mean, we have probably 6 or 7 LGBT producers, myself included. We have people that are from other countries that speak other languages. We have people who are Republicans, people who are Democrats, people who are independents. We have Southerners, Northerners. It's just a wide spectrum. We have this is probably the most brown newsroom I've ever worked in my life. And I've worked in some pretty diverse places. I mean, I thought Al Jazeera was pretty diverse, and it was, but this is way more diverse than that. And our newsroom is young. So our audience is ourselves. I mean, we know what we would watch. And I think because we are basically making videos that we can relate to, our audience can relate to that, because our audience is the same age as we are. So it's not like we have to tailor it to anybody specific. If it's newsworthy to us and we see it more than 2 or 3 times, we know that that's something we have to turn.
So basically, you as a newsroom is basically your audience. So like you're creating for yourselves.
We use it sort of as like a litmus test. So like, for example, yeah, it's basically a litmus test. I mean, there are some things that are like, oh, this is not going to do well because nobody wants to watch a video about, I don't know, like a foreign leader who, our audience won't know, who has passed away. Not like Shimon Peres, for example. That was a discussion. I said, well, it's important, but by the time we have to sit down and explain to people who he is, why he's important, we've already lost your attention. Like, how many of you would actually watch that? I mean, be honest. Exactly. So, I mean, that's something that, while I thought it was important, some of the other seniors said, yes, it's important, but it's not necessarily for us. And I understood why they felt that way, and I had to let that one go. So it just kind of depends. But, we kind of know our audience well enough that we know we don't have a lot of your time. We only have a few seconds to capture your attention. Some obits are going to work better than others, and some things just will not resonate with us. So, we kind of tailor the videos that way. Let's see. I really wish I could share the sound. I'll send the links. I'll send the links around to all of these afterwards. This is the last one, and then I'll take some more questions. This one is a little graphic, so I'm going to say that ahead of time now. The audio is what really makes this video work, but you can still kind of get the point even just from looking at it. All right. So those are our little examples for today. Sorry, that one's a little graphic. What you can't hear, since the sound's not there, that's another situation where there is no additional music or additional elements or anything like that, because the video kind of speaks for itself. You can actually hear the taser zapping him the whole time. You can hear his face literally make contact with the pavement. It's almost like a shattering sound, which makes it that much more dramatic. I mean, you just know right away that is not right. So you can feel it, even without hearing the sound. And so that's a situation in which the video is obviously serious because it is a serious situation. Oh, I just got an email. Now this featured on CNN. What is this? John, did you do this?
I did not. I did not.
Oh, okay. So earlier today, we also posted a video, if I can try and find it quickly, of Newt Gingrich with some very interesting comments regarding the former Miss Universe that Donald Trump has had some strong words for. Here it is. I've seen this video, not just on our site, but on NBC, MSNBC. Everyone's kind of gotten it from us today. So it's just another example of a video, and then I'll take some more questions.
No, no.
Sorry, that's my husband. Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay. You also get a little sneak peek of some of our newer graphics that are rolling out there. Although those have already been publicized, so you've seen those probably a few places. But yeah, so that's kind of a glimpse into NowThis. I'm happy to take any more questions you guys might have.
So I noticed that like one or two of the videos you got from was it Storyful. I just had a question, like, how do you guys find the stuff?
Oh yeah, sure. So we get our video from a variety of sources. We subscribe to AP, Reuters, Getty, Storyful as well. So we use Storyful as a way to, and those all come with a cost. We're one of their clients, so obviously we can't be everywhere at all times. It's kind of why everyone uses the wire agency. Storyful is great because they verify the social media posts that have kind of blown up or are trending. A lot of times, if we're looking for something, I saw this video on my phone, I don't know where it's from, or if it's legit, they'll have it. If we have a video that we're not sure about, we can ask them to confirm it for us. If we don't have someone, we can dedicate the resources to do that. Sometimes they'll license things that we'll then license from them, the same as any other newsroom would. But again, even though it's the same footage, now this video always stands out because we have that unique sort of spin on it. But that's kind of just how we would source things. Also, we've got pull feeds, live shots, the same sort of tools most other places would have.
Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Oh, we got a question over on the.
Yeah.
I'm over here, kind of off camera.
I see a hand.
So I should do your hand. You said you do about, what, 20% original content, like video?
20 to 25%, yeah, and that comprises live shoots, produced shoots where we will actually go shoot the video ourselves, interviews in studio, Facebook Lives, just a variety of things, but about 20 to 25%.
And when do you decide on a story that you're going to do that? You're going to actually do your own video?
That's a good question. I think it just kind of depends on the story. It depends on accessibility, since we're all basically based here in New York with a few exceptions. Obviously, we can't send someone halfway around the world like we would like to, so we do rely a lot on subscription services like Reuters, AP, those kind of things. But if there are stories here in the US we can do, or within a relative reason of doing international travel that makes sense for us, that we can send a solid producer to do, we'll do that. We have a lot of stories. Those are a lot more of our, those tend to take a little more time. Like we just sent a producer out a couple of days ago, and she did an interview with this man who is trying to fight environmental waste. So he is actually wearing all of the trash he compiles for a year. She's been following him for a couple of months. And it sounds kind of gross, but we actually had him in the studio earlier today as a live, and it's actually not that much trash. And his point is that people are wasting a lot of things, and if you just consolidate your stuff, you can kind of do a little bit better. So that's one example. I don't know if you all remember the example of the video. There was a guy walking around New York City playing a guitar next to homeless people, helping get money because they were not really doing well on their own. So we sent a producer out to follow him for a couple of days. We interviewed him. That's a good example of an original piece. I've got someone going up to upstate New York. She's doing an in-depth investigation on like a weed situation. I'm not sure all the details, but that's another situation. So it just kind of depends on who's available, you know, accessibility, where it is, and if it's a story that that day, if it's a little more evergreen, or we have a little more time to produce it, we will dedicate someone to do it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay, cool. Dexter, I'm going to have to, wait, sorry, did somebody have a question?
Actually, I've got one. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm all the way over here. Do you make any, I mean, oftentimes in social, I never have audio on, so do you make any special decisions about content so that you know it's always going to be cool, even if somebody doesn't have audio, like if you're relying on music or particular sound effects?
Yeah, so basically something I kind of briefly touched on earlier, about 80% of our audience doesn't watch the video with sound, or they watch it without sound. So what we tell our producers is your video should be able to stand on its own without the audio. That being said, the audio still has to be good. I routinely will kick a video back and make someone recut it because the audio is jumpy or it's glitching. They'll say, oh, but Dexter, you said 80% of the audience doesn't watch with sound. And I'll tell them, yes, but that's still 2 million people that do watch with sound. And they kind of go like, oh, 2 million, okay, I get it. But yeah, so basically the way that we have them sort of cut the videos, stack the videos is so the text is easy enough to read and concise enough that you can get the full story across still with the NowThis voice without having to add any additional sound. And then if someone does choose to have the sound should be an enhancing feature to a video that's already good.
Yeah, awesome.
Have you thought about adding like a trigger to say, oh, this is best with sound on the video? Because I know when I'm looking at video and sometimes like, oh, I wish I had my headphones with me, and like, oh, I can't really listen to this right now, but the video is really good, but the audio is just really what makes it. Have you thought about adding this sort of like key to say, oh, you should listen to this?
So we do that from time to time. It kind of depends on the video. When we do that, those are videos that 100% require the sound. Like there's no other way to tell that part of the story than to say like sound. So then we'll say, you know, plug in your headphones or turn your sound on or like sound on. So we probably do maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 of those a week. Obviously, I would love it if everyone listened to the videos with sound just because I think sound is amazing. And it is an enhancing feature. It's one of the 5 senses, so you shouldn't neglect it. That's just how I personally feel. But realistically, people, like I said, are watching stuff on the go, on the train, in the cabs, you know, before they get in the car, picking up the kid. They're not really, you know, walking from class to class. You're not really interested in listening, or you're listening to your own music and you don't want to have to turn Spotify off to listen to whatever sound we've selected for you. That's sort of an uphill battle. So the sound is always a secondary aspect unless it's a video that just absolutely requires sound. I think the ones I picked tonight, I mean, they all work well without the sound. I would prefer to be able to show it to you with sound, but obviously you don't have to have it for it to make the point.
All right, last question. We'll stop in the back.
I'm curious to know, do you guys have a social media marketing team? And if so, I don't know if you want to share this information, but what kind of growth strategies work best? Or do you just rely on video virality?
So we do have sort of an insights team. It's kind of where they do all the like numbers and that sort of thing. I actually don't know the answer to that question, so it's not that I won't tell you, it's not that I actually can't. But they do a lot of analysis in terms of, I do know we do like A/B testing on like headlines to see what sort of headlines work best for what types of videos. We've experimented over the last couple of years with different colors of font and size. We kind of settled on like what works best for us. Different links on how long certain videos should be before we lose people, if it's too short, if it's too long. So there is like a lot of behind the scenes analysis that goes on separate of editorial. I will say that while the insights team is really, really great about like giving us information about what works and what doesn't, they never try to force editorial to cut a video a certain way. They let editorial do editorial and we let them do their thing. And you know, we are frequently discussing, but there's never like a, hey, if you make this 5 seconds shorter, it'll do way better.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Well, Dexter, thank you so much for coming in. I know you're really, really busy, especially with election times going on right now.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So the next portion of the class, we actually have another guest speaker who we missed last week. I think.